What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. And Digital, I'm just so glad those upcoming house guests are not here yet. And I'm like, dude, this is perfect timing, you know? Gotta come here. I think it's just fate. Fate just wanted me to come here, talk to you guys about global foundries, and hopefully we just all get rich, man.
Hey, I love that idea. I'm all about that. Hey, I hope the same, man. So, do you want to go ahead and break down that Substack?
Yeah. So basically, recently the US government made a deal with global foundries. And as we've seen throughout like this year and last year, they've made a lot of deals like with Intel, with MP Materials, with USAR, with LAC, and so many other companies. And typically, whenever the US government invests in these companies, these stocks just end up soaring. But surprisingly, for Global Foundries, after they got that deal with the US government, and the US government owns a 1% stake in Global Foundries thanks to this deal, the stock was mute, which was so surprising. And I just had to dig deep and I just realized that I basically like landed upon a gold mine. And what's also interesting too is Global Foundries was soaring, alongside the memory stocks, the optic stocks. But as I discussed with John, I think like a few days ago, like the stock is down like 40% from its highs. So it already had a significant pullback. And I think, especially at these levels, it might be go time to accumulating a position in Global Foundries. Now, as a heads up, this is not financial advice. You know, all the stuff that I'm going to say here is all opinions. Please do your own research. And, we're all here to learn at the end of the day. So, yeah, I guess before I start diving deep, do you guys have any questions before we start?
Yeah, I've got a question really fast. What's the ticker again so I can look it up? Because you and I did talk about it because I did a little research, but now I already forgot what the ticker is. So hit us with that real fast so I can follow along and do some research while you're talking.
Yeah, it's going to be GFS. Do you
Ye-
see it?
Global Foundries, right?
Yes.
GFS, John.
Yes, digital?
Yeah, so you nailed it with the like once the government gets behind it, you know what I'm saying? It starts going because I know people you've been following me long enough, which everybody in the room pretty much has. What like it was, I think it was last year, I started going in heavy on Intel, and it was when it was down at like what 32 or lower. It was cheap, bro. And I remember I kept posting about it. Every once in a while, when I see Intel start trending again, I retweet my old posts because the waves always come back around. And I was like, I've been telling people, but yeah, I remember that was pretty much the reason I entered that position was I seen, after Trump got in office and everything, I started pumping up Intel. So I was like, you know what, let me check this out. I was already looking at Intel because I felt like at the time it was already beat down and everybody was like so against it. And one thing about me, what I've learned in investing is the best investments have always been the ones that are not viral or the ones that everyone's not talking about yet. That's always been the best ones. Like I'm like Circle and certain investments, like there were the ones that Intel, the ones that people weren't talking about, and plus, like you said, the government kind of comes in and decides to put that raft underneath them. So it's, at the least you can at least get a trade out of it. So no, I just wanted to chime in on that part because yeah, I made one of those trades for sure.
Man, you're so right. And I can see Global Foundries being like another Intel. And you know what's funny too is so Global Foundries and Intel, they were both like, behind when it comes to like the chip foundry race. Typically when we think of like people producing chips, or sorry, firms, we think of TSMC and Samsung. But what's interesting is ever since the US government invested in Intel, Intel just suddenly like shot up and like started becoming like the third best chip foundry out there. And Global Foundries was also trying to get third place in the whole chip foundry race, more specifically in terms of producing the smallest logic chips possible. So things like CPUs and GPUs, like those type of things. And what's interesting is, so just to go back to the beginning, so Global Foundries used to be the manufacturing arm of AMD. So AMD was like basically same as Intel, where they both designed the chips and they produced it themselves. They didn't rely on TSMC or Samsung or anyone else. And during the financial crisis of 2008, so AMD needed cash. So they sold their chip making operations to Abu Dhabi, like the actual Abu Dhabi government. And from there, they just focus on being a foundry business like TSMC. And for a couple of years, they were competing against Samsung and TSMC in not only getting customers for logic chips, but also trying to produce the smallest chips possible. And that race, like TSMC already like owned it since they first got into the business in the 1990s. And with the way how the foundry business works, it's very capital intensive, returns aren't a guarantee, and it's just very competitive, very difficult in general. Like you just need the best technological talent and the best machines to like win in this competition. Hence why for TSMC, they already have the strongest relationship with ASML. Hence why they just keep on winning because they always get the newest machines like faster. You know, they have the capital, they have the prestige. So they just kept getting the newest machines. And for Intel, because of the US government's involvement, that's actually why they've been able to like be on par with TSMC in getting the latest ASML machines. Now for Global Foundries, they don't have any of that. They've tried their best, they've struggled, and because of that, in around like 2018, they chose to stop competing against TSMC. Instead, they started focusing more on specialty semiconductor technologies, where manufacturing expertise mattered more than transistor size, than having the best relationship with ASML, and so on. And so they focus more on things like radio frequency chips, power management semiconductors, automotive chips, and even silicon photonics. And the thing that's really interesting is their focus on silicon photonics was so early, but they just had a lot of patience and knew that one day their focus on that specific thing would just pay off handsomely. And especially now where we have like GPU clusters that are not only like a few hundred, like how they were before ChatGPT came, but we're talking about like 10,000 GPUs, 50,000 GPUs, even like 100,000 plus GPUs. Like the demands for GPUs in general just got so high with ChatGPT that the issue now isn't just can I get enough GPUs? The issue also becomes do I have the networking capabilities to ensure that all my GPUs can talk to each other? Because you got to understand, like all these like AI models, they're doing so many things at once. So that's why all these GPUs keep talking to each other. And that's where like communication or networking becomes the biggest bottleneck. And that's where optics comes in because if you think about it, let's just say each GPU is like a person. Let's just say you have 100,000 GPUs. That's like having 100,000 people in a room trying to talk to each other simultaneously. So because of that, they needed a better way to like move information across all these GPUs. And with the current technology we have today, which is copper, like copper was great back then, but when you have like so many more GPUs, the physical limitations of it, it's just not going to work. That's why we have optics, or more specifically, for Global Foundries perspective, silicon photonics. So before I dive deeper, do you guys have any questions? Yes, Digital?
Yeah, I wanted to start off, bro. Definitely keep on going, dog. You are very good at that researching and like as I'm coming up with questions, you were answering them. So like, bro, you're on point. Just and if you haven't yet, post your Substack in the comments. So I want to start getting because I want to start making sure we all promote each other and get your stuff out there. So put if you haven't posted your Substack link, post that in there. Let's get that stuff going, bro. You're no,
I
I just
got
want
it
to
in the
let you know
comment
you're doing
section.
amazing, bro. Go ahead.
Oh, I said I got it in the comment section.
Awesome. Yeah, that was mine. If the anybody else does, go ahead and raise your hands and have your questions. But yeah, no, I just want to let you know you're killing it, bro.
Thanks, man. So, anyways, continuing on. So, basically, with just the enormous amounts of data that's moving from like one GPU to the other, um, and with copper having its physical limitations, so that's why the industry had to move forward towards optics. And what's also interesting is this whole focus on optics didn't start in 2025 when all of these like AI models, AI agents started coming to the picture. No, instead, they actually came in 2022. And this is surprising because this is like the year that ChatGPT came out, which was back in like November of 2022. So back in around January of 2022. So Global Foundries, connected with Cisco, Nvidia, AMD, Broadcom, and many of the other big, tech names when it comes to AI. And they all came together and basically created this architecture where not only will you have like GPUs, but you will also have like the silicon photonics within the GPU cluster because they've already seen, like, even before ChatGPT was released, that every year the amount of data that was being created and replicated globally was at an exponential path. And they knew eventually, they don't know which year specifically, eventually copper's not going to fulfill the world's needs. The world's going to need more bandwidth just to transfer a lot of data, not just for businesses, but also for individuals. And that's why they came together back in 2022. And they're like, okay, let's start figuring out this new architecture plan, this new chip architecture plan, where we can not only have like GPUs and CPUs, but even like the optical cables, even the silicon photonics in these GPU clusters, just so we can just move all the data much faster. That way data centers, they don't like, short fuse because like the copper just burns and other issues. So with that, back in 2022, they just all came together, create like one set architecture, and that architecture is what's being used for co-packaged optics today, not only by NVIDIA, but also by AMD and Broadcom. So they've planned this like many years ago. And today, especially with the boom in optics products for Lumentum, Coherent, and what was that AAOI company? Applied Optoelectronics. So they knew all these bottlenecks that are going to come and they planned ahead of time. And it wouldn't surprise me too if even Leopold, the guy who, founded situational awareness, was also involved in these discussions, like either directly or indirectly. Most likely indirectly, since, back then OpenAI was just focused on making ChatGPT. So um, this architecture that they all came up with, Marvel, NVIDIA, Global Foundries. It's called GF Photonics, Photonix. And since then, since that meeting in 2022, Global Foundries was just focused on solving the whole manufacturing aspect of silicon photonics because, producing silicon photonics is very different than producing GPUs, CPUs, even the Grok LPUs, and so on. So the whole process of figuring out the manufacturing challenges, I didn't dive too deep into it in the article, but basically, just to summarize, they've basically created this monolithic integration approach that allows optical components like modulators and detectors to work alongside high-speed electronic transistors. I know it sounds a lot techy, but basically just think about it as they vertically integrated the entire silicon photonics supply chain, and they're just able to just get all the pieces to just simply work together. They design all the pieces to their standards, and everything magically works. Now, I guess let's see. Now, I will note this. In their latest earnings call, okay, their foundries are fully booked simply because there's just insane demand for silicon photonics. And it all makes sense, especially when you consider that coherent, Lumentum, even applied optoelectronics, like they're busy shipping out optics products. Where are these optics products going to? To Global Foundries is foundries, not the TSMC yet, because they have to make the silicon photonics. And then once they make those silicon photonics, they get shipped to TSMC's fabs. And from there, TSMC grabs that, adds it onto the GPU cluster alongside the GPUs and LPUs. And that's how you get co-packaged optics. So, does anyone have any questions?
Man, I love your dives, dog. I'm not gonna lie. There was definitely some extra techie words in there. But no, I love it though. You go in deep, bro. Before we go to you, John, I want to do a quick shout out. Go around the room real quick. I see a couple faces that just joined. We got Sandra. What up, Sandra? Glad to see you in the building. How you doing, Parabolic? Glad to see you made it in here. We got my man C4 Poppy. What up, dog? Good to see you in here, man. That's the OG right there. Glad to see you, man. And then we got Serge. How you doing, Serge? Glad you made it in here. And then David. What up, David? You know, all are welcome to speak. Or if you guys want to pop any questions in the comment section, we'll go through and we'll check out your comments at a certain point and answer your questions. So, John, go ahead, my bro.
No, great stuff as always. Dissecting, breaking down. I just had a question. I was looking at that, then I started looking at at SanDisk Corporation. Also, I know you sort of dug into that a little bit, and they're more of a sort of a developer and manufacturer for the data storage companies. I mean, is that something that you would ever get into as a satellite position with both of those together, or would you keep that sort of separate? Or what do you think?
I think they're great together, especially since a lot of these new GPU clusters, whether it's like, the NVIDIA Vera Rubin NVL72, or whether AMD and even those new Google TPUs have, like, they're all so memory intensive. And the interesting thing too is with the optics cables, like, okay, I will take a step back. So I don't know if you know this, but NVIDIA's Rubin NVL72 rack is going to be more heavy on NAND, which is what SanDisk produces. And because of that, so whenever anyone's going to use those Vera Rubin racks for AI inference, and let's say they want to like grab like clinical trial data from like 2002, for example, just anything that hasn't been touched in so long, but something that you would typically store in like NAND storage instead of like DRAM storage or HBM storage. So if you want that data to come faster onto your LLM, just so you could like analyze it faster and such, like you need those optic cables just to grab the data faster. And especially with like healthcare, like the data itself is just so big that, if you're like a researcher and you just want to like, look at any past clinical trial data that's like stored, they're typically stored in NAND chips, because, NAND chips, that's where like majority of data is stored anyway. You want to get that in faster, like you need those optics chips, you need co-package optics. So they all work together. Um, so yeah, they're both great. And I will say though, SanDisk, I'm more optimistic though, like in terms of upside and momentum, simply because once OpenAI or Anthropic releases recursive self-improvement, where like the AI becomes its own AI researcher and improves on its own, oh man, demand for memory alone is just gonna accelerate even further. So Dude, I'm probably more bullish on SanDisk, not gonna lie, but they both work well together.
Oh, go ahead, deplorable.
Well, it's interesting you talk about SanDisk. I've been in MU, I've been in Micron and SanDisk, but I just took a position Friday in SanDisk. Just because I do agree with you. What happened recently is you have this Chinese company that came out and said, hey, we're going to make memory chips and we can be just as good as SanDisk. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why you had such a drop off in these AI stocks. And you get, if you let China get involved, you got Apple just making a big stink about how it's so expensive with all the memory. And so they're trying to convince Trump to allow Chinese, chips into our US and be able to have trading, and Nvidia's doing deals with China and working out that. So I think that's what shook up this industry. But I agree with you dissecting 100%. I've been doing a lot of research on these chips. There's a lot of different options like ARM, um yeah, AVGO. There's a lot of different options for chips out there, and all of them have a niche. I mean, they all. Some of them are lower energy, some are lesser expensive to make, and so, like dissecting saying, right now chips are so dang expensive that there's going to have to be alternatives to be able to fulfill the actual demand that's out there. So this market being crushed right now, I really think it's hedge funds trying to smash the price so they can get back in. You saw Leopold get completely hammered with his 4 times leverage and lost everything. Well, not everything, he still has billions, but lost so much money. But he's having to reset. He actually made a comment, I'm not going to leverage anymore. We're like, duh, don't do that. But you had Citadel that basically said that there was going to be a market, the interest rates are going to go up with the Fed, and then it never happened, and it crashed and basically destroyed Leopold. So not really destroyed him. I think he's still fine. He got married, whatever. I think he's doing fine. But my point is, I agree with you dissecting. Chips are good. I think if you can get in a good pricing point, just know that it's going to be the most volatile stock that you're going to sit in. Just throwing it out there. I've been in them. It'll give you some gray hairs.
Hey, I heard that. He said it'll give you some gray hairs. Hey, definitely will, man. Dissecting, I see you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Okay, this is a question for you, deplorable, but also for everyone else on the panel. Let's say you're Leopold. Okay, your wife is chief of staff at Anthropic. You also used to be a researcher at OpenAI. So you've like been to all the meetings, you know all the roadmaps, you know what everything requires. You basically like not only have deep knowledge in the industry, but you also get insider info through your wife. Would you be 4xing leverage on all of those bets like he did or not? Tell
Oh
me
yeah,
why you would not leverage your insider trading
dude.
bets.
But you got a $67 billion Citadel that came in and just smashed him. You know what I mean? They were able to just move money, short it, and take his money away from him. So I will say I would have as well, but I think he's going to think twice about it.
Bro, I think anybody in their right mind, and if they had that kind of information, we're doing some inside trading, dog. I don't care who you are. Hey, we could act like I got morals, know that, but I mean, come on, man. I'd utilize it, man. Let me hear from my co-host too. Go ahead, dissecting.
Wait, I want to clarify your answer. So you would go 4x leverage on insider info.
Yes.
What? You would? Why?
Uh,
You said what?
You would? Why?
If I had the right info, hell yeah.
Yeah, but you don't know that. That's the part. You don't know if it's the right info or not.
Oh, if I don't know, then no. I thought we were talking about if I knew.
No, no. He's saying if your wife gave you all the info that she knows, would you take the bet? Would you go for 4x leverage?
See, man, see now y'all going too deep about it. Nah. It's like this. If it was information I knew I could trust, then yes. If not, obviously not. I thought it was more like,
No, no. You can trust the information, but the timing might not be correctly, or like the
hey,
information that
bro,
might
you
be the
know,
full
hey, I
story.
ain't
I'm just
scared.
saying, don't
Hey, you
ever
know, I ain't
trust
scared to
anybody.
take on a
You go,
little risk, dog. You know me, bro. I'll take a little risk on. I ain't scared. I ain't
Four
scared.
x leverage risk. Don't forget that 4x leverage. So if you got $10 billion now, it's $50 billion at risk.
Run it.
Hey, I was just gonna say, I have learned though, when you leverage, it's a lot riskier. And if you really believed in it, why not just be patient, let it roll, use your own money? I'm with dissecting. It's like it's good, but then you're not only gambling, but you're gambling with other people's money, and then it can really hurt you. So I would just say, me personally, even if I knew the information, I would still be hesitant because I've seen this too many times. The Citadel doing what they did and their power, there's a lot of people that can crush a stock. I was in silver in January. John and I both know he got in after it crashed, but I was in it full tilt, and I was at euphoria. And then all of a sudden, Chinese shorters and American shorters decided to crush it. So you could think everything makes sense, then all the information about why silver, supply is low and it's needed, but it could still get crushed.
Oh, 100%. That's why I don't do that in real life or use leverage or
Amen.
anything. I don't be doing all that, dog. It was just a little funny hypothetical thing. But
Hey,
yeah.
digital. I'm on margin. I wouldn't go 4x margin. If anybody out here is listening, that's definitely very very wild. But 2x margin or 1.5x. Just don't use it all. My suggestion: don't go past 50%. Do not go past 50%. That's just my suggestion if you're gonna use margin.
Go ahead, dissecting.
I will say this. So Leopold has been like going in early on like many Bitcoin miners like ClearSpark, Riot, Mara, but it's like the timing and the leverage of those bets, like just know he goes like far. So like he waits like probably like, you know, many months or even like over a year just for those positions to just soar. Cause if he were to like, hear from his wife, like, hey, we're gonna sign a deal with like Clean Spark next week. And he just like suddenly like goes all in on like Clean Spark and then it soars. Dude, he has the SEC going after him. That's why he just buys in and just waits for months. Like he knows it's gonna happen. He's just gonna wait months. And then once it soars, people be like, "Oh, you're so smart," when really he actually knows what's going on and just, you know, staying in the trade longer to avoid the authorities.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's a whole other ball game, dog. Because yeah, like I've messed around with like loco with like margin just when I was like bulking up my portfolio. You know what I'm saying? But I don't do. Like, I'll stat. I'd rather work extra hours and use my own bread. You know what I'm saying? Know that. Like in the real in reality. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't. I ain't into leveraging and stuff like that. I don't do that. I'm straight. But no, I feel it though. I mean, human nature. You get tempted with shit. So I mean, I get it. But yeah, I don't play with leverage, man. It's just like a hypothetical. But yeah. Do you any co-hosts y'all got anything to add to that?
I will say that I wouldn't do it just because I don't trust people, sort of like the loco. I trust myself, especially not going to some hearsay. But I do enjoy my leverage every morning from 8:35 until about 9:30, and I use 20x leverage, boys and girls, when I trade in the morning. 20x. That's right. Four's nothing. Four's nothing. That's child's play. But anyway, that's me.
Hey, he came in with the mic drop. I heard that, John. Hey, that's why we call you Big John, man. A big leverage, 20x or nothing. Go ahead, dissecting.
John, you know Ken Griffin heard you, right?
Yeah, I think he's calling me right now on my other phone, man. Dang, that dude won't leave me alone.
Oh, that's hilarious. Hey Elijah, are you busy right now? I want to see if you had anything you wanted to add as another co-host before we start figuring out the next direction.
Yeah, I would not use leverage at all. I'll just use my money. I'll rather take it out of my emergency fund and use leverage, in my opinion. Margin, I'll probably use a small percent of margin, but I'm not going crazy with leverage. Even if I had all the info in the world and I was right, that doesn't guarantee that you're still bound to make 4 times that or whatever leverage you want to put on it. Because at the end of the day, the market moves greater than you, and you can't move greater than the market unless you got like trillions of dollars into the market. Then maybe you can move it. Probably still like 5%. That's about it. So it doesn't matter if you have all the money in the world. The market doesn't move when you want it to move.
You're talking about like
Hey,
Warren
that's
Buffett can move the
facts.
market. That's what you're meaning. I'm sorry, my bad, digital.
Oh no, you're good, dog.
Wait, what'd you say?
You're talking about like people like Warren Buffett can move the market. Is that what you're trying to say? That kind of money?
Yeah, like a lot of money to move the market. Like I'm
Yeah,
talking
that
about,
kid can definitely move the market. I don't think he moved the market that much.
yeah,
Not
you
even
only can
close to
probably
Warren
move it
Buffett
like
level.
just a certain percent, but not like to what people think you can. Like people think like they can move the market to where like, oh yeah, we can influence like a 10% gain on the day and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, that's not how it really works, to be honest. But yeah, like only a small amount of movement in the market is if you have a ton of money. Because the market still is just a bunch of just inflows and outflows. And you have to have the greatest outflow and inflows to even influence a small type of movement.
Yeah, man, the market ain't got no mercy when it decides to move in a direction for sure. It'll wipe you down.
It definitely
Yeah.
feels like these hedge funds be calling each other and like timing it. Like, yo, all three of us gonna sell all these stocks at the same time. All right, let's do it.
You already know, bruh. For sure they are. Go ahead, John. You can go ahead, John. I don't know if you heard me.
My bad. I was talking to myself, man. I want to circle back to dissecting. Just a question. I'm looking at the chart for SanDisk. Do you have any price levels that you're looking at in particular for any kind of pullback or anything? Since it's pulled back over the last month 30%. But just curious if you have a price level that you're thinking about watching.
Are you talking to deplorable?
No, dissecting.
For me, I don't really have a buy point. I'm just like I rely on you, John, for the price points, you know? I'm just a guy who's like, "Okay, show me the trends for the long run." And then I see it, I'm like, "Okay, I'll just buy." I see a dip, buy some more. Just keep buying, buy the falling knife, you know?
Well, that didn't help. That didn't help at all. If you're relying on me, then you're in a lot of trouble, my friend. You're in a lot of trouble. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm just trying to. I'm fixing to figure something. I'm looking under the hood of a certain ETF. But all right, I appreciate that.
Hey, it's funny you said that, John, because that was why I put my hand up. I was going to say, what kind of ETFs are my people looking at that have exposure to some of these things we're talking about? Damn, I glitched out. But yeah, let's go to dissect. And he put his hand up first, and then deplorable.
Yeah. So in terms of ETFs, I know that Semi Analysis made an ETF. It's called the ticker is LAZR. So it's called the TEMA Photonics and Optical ETF. It's just more on like the overall like optics supply chain. Um, Let me check out their holdings real quick. I mean, yeah, you have like Lumentum. Surprisingly, they also have like Anthropic shares, which is interesting. Applied Optoelectronics, Tower Semi. I don't see Global Foundries, which is weird, but they should have added it there.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check some of that out. John, what about you? Because I know you the ETF man, or Elijah too. I want to see if y'all been looking at anything, or do you have any? Oh wait, deplorable. Yeah, you were next. My bad, dog. Go ahead, deplorable.
Just a couple you might look into. Nicholas Investments just added that they call Dreamy, which is DRMY. You'd be getting in on that when it first launched. Invesco has the PSI. You got SOXX. These are very volatile. Those, I mean, obviously semiconductors. SMH is a really good one. But the one that I might look at is Chippy's always been a really good one. CHPY. It's bled all the way down to $67. It was up to almost 90. It pays phenomenal dividends. So just something to kind of think about. And last but not least, I think I said DRAM is another good one you might look at as well because they've all been just smashed.
Yeah, definitely Chippy. I've heard Chippy, DRAM. Definitely have heard of those ones. There was another one you said too, but yeah, I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. Go ahead, John.
I'm just trying to figure out if deplorable was in my space yesterday and taking notes while I was talking about this. I swear.
Oh,
Oh no. Uh, if traditional growth style, I like SMHX, the Fabulous. It has a little bit different holdings than SMH, and I love SMH. I've had SMH for over almost 7 years. But yeah, I like SMH. And yesterday on Friday, not yesterday, Friday, I actually added some chippy, the CHPY from Yield Max. And I also added Soxy deplorable. I don't know if you're in my space or not. I don't remember. Soxy, that's their Target 12 semiconductor ETF. And if you check out the NAV and compare it to SMH, it is right there with it. It hangs with SMH and it pays a 12% distribution yield. So that's like, I've been waiting for semiconductors to pull back. If y'all follow me and y'all come to my space for like over a year. So finally, with this pullback, I decided to pull the trigger on Friday and buy my first positions in my income account with both of those Yield Max funds. But yeah, great. Yeah, right on, deplorable. As always, my friend. But yeah, check under the hood with SMHX because that's like my favorite sort of one to buy right now. Whenever we do have a dip, I need to add some more shares of that because I have that in my traditional trading account with Schwab, and that's something where it's a little bit different from SMH, but they have done some similar holdings. But yeah, those are the four I would look at if you're looking at income or just traditional, just a broad sort of all the semiconductor chips inside of them.
Hey, very interesting. I remember you talking about SMHX before too. If that's what, yeah, I think that's what you said. So yeah, I definitely remember that. Um, what about you, Elijah? And then I want to see what Loco has to say too.
For me, I'm not really looking at anything to be quite honest. I'm just kind of chilling with what I got already. Oh, I lied to you actually. My bad. I absolutely just lied my through my teeth. I might actually do the clouding computing ETF that I shared like weeks ago. That's by Fidelity. And that's about it. As far as what I'm gonna add, I don't really plan on adding too much to my Roth because I kind of like where my Roth is at, as far as like growth over time and stuff. So I don't see a point of overdoing it. I'm probably So well, that's one I would add is the clouding if you think data centers and so forth.